Bourbon, Broncos, and No BS. Fans, brews, and Broncos news.
Hello again, Broncos Country. Welcome to another episode of Bourbon, Broncos And No B.S. This is our Tuesday flagship show that you guys are joining us. Make sure you guys are hitting that like, share, comment button, whatever you guys need to hit to share us around. And we have a lot to talk about today, coming off of the bye week. Broncos come off bye week. But most importantly, I'm here with my good friends, David and Spotty. How you guys doing, man?
It was sort of, I didn't really know what to do with my hands this last weekend, Jared. It was like, all right, well, there's no Broncos game to drive me crazy. I guess I could go do yard work. So
now the question is, did that yard work get done?
You live in an apartment. What yard?
No. Spotty, the move has been made. We're living in a very large house with a very large yard now that has a lot of leaves in it, and I'm gonna have to do something about that sooner or later.
Eventually,
I'm waiting for them to fall first. They've all got to come down, and then you rake them up. That's how you. Yeah.
Spotty, how you doing, man?
Well, I'm good. Mrs. Spotty got me cleaning all day that day. So while the TV was on, I was cheering against both the Colts and the Chiefs. I was, sweeping, mopping. Gotta do the things. It's the very few times during the fall that she can get me to do anything on the mornings on Sunday. So works out.
Yeah, absolutely. I was driving and listening to the games. The only game I will say, and let's just go ahead and get into this. The only game I was relatively disappointed in, and not that I expected the Jets to beat New England, but that game was. I really wish that the Jets could just pull them off because they started out strong.
The Bengals,
Cincinnati.
It was the Bengals. It was Cincinnati, but Cincinnati started out strong, and I think they were
too.
They had beat early in the last couple minutes to win the game.
Yeah, I really wish the Patriots would have lost to the Bengals, but it didn't happen. And then obviously the scene from The Dark Knight didn't happen in the Indy Kansas City game. But honestly, I'm okay with Kansas City winning that one. Give them a little hope for nothing and bring Indy down a little bit to bump us up. So right now, the Denver Broncos are number 2 in the AFC, number 1 in the AFC West, and we have a lot to look forward to in the rest of the season coming off this bye. So let's do a real quick year in review for the first few minutes, and then we'll talk about obviously what we're coming up against the Commanders. In the back, obviously 9-2, number 2 in the AFC to New England being number 1, and then us, and then right behind us is Indy after losing to Kansas City. How are we feeling as Broncos country with the quality of wins, how we're winning them, and going forward for the rest of the year? Right now, there's a lot of people predicting that we're Super Bowl contenders. Do you guys feel that way?
Those people need to stay in their damn lanes. When they started the year off, they were not on this Broncos bandwagon. And you know what? The train pulled out of the station week 1 against the Tennessee Titans. And all of these mother lovers out there were all over the Broncos because they barely beat the Tennessee Titans. And then they barely beat whoever the next team was. Oh, my goodness. The Broncos aren't actually a team. They barely can't beat anybody, okay? I don't know why everybody thinks the Broncos should start winning the Super Bowl now when they haven't been honest from the beginning. I honestly can't say anything. We know we've been doing a lot of complaining on all of the shows about something, and that's because we're Broncos fans, and the last 10 years have been horrid, terrible, putrid, whatever you want to call it, and now we have something, and we don't know how to really be excited about it, but we know we're super excited about it. So I took some time during this bye week to appreciate it. So I'm feeling great.
I love it. Yeah, with Thanksgiving coming up, it's something to feel thankful for. I love it.
For sure. For me, where I'm at with it is we're all close enough to see this team and its flaws for what they are. Like, we all see the team up close and personal every single week. We're not at a 30,000-foot view like some of these national talking heads who don't watch all game every game because they just don't have time to do that in a week. But so, for all that we complain and all that we gripe and the way the season's gone on, we are 9-2, and that puts us in a spot to be at the top of the AFC. And as you look around at these other teams, at the Colts, at the Patriots, and then at the old guard, kind of AFC teams that we're all used to being there, the Baltimore Ravens, the Buffalo Bills, the Kansas City Chiefs. They're all teams this year that have flaws. Like the Ravens, even with Lamar Jackson, have not looked like this dynamic team that they have in years past. We all know what the Chiefs' struggles have been like this year. We just beat them ourselves. The Bills, if you can stop the run against the Bills, they don't have any weapons in the pass game to threaten you, really. And so it's just you look around these other AFC teams, and they've all just got such question marks. Like, if the Colts lose one more game, I think the narrative around them changes significantly. You're crumbling now, right? As part of the season goes in, as opposed to the Broncos, who keep winning close games. The Patriots, keep winning, but they haven't. They've got a couple quality wins. The Bills is a quality win on their slate. But there's not a really – you look at go up and down their schedule, and you're not like, man, this is a battle-tested team. You're like, man, this is a team that has seen a lot of cupcakes over the course of the first 12 weeks of the season. And you return to the Broncos, and it's like, yeah, I guess we're not perfect, but, man, we have won a ton of different ways. We have ground-out wins. It's a battle-tested team that doesn't give up, and that matters in the playoffs. Like, being able to win those kind of games really matters in the playoffs.
Yeah, what anything showed me like how important it is to win at the end. It was that Kansas City Indy game, and how that game ended with obviously Kansas City coming out on top, and everybody can give Indy fell apart in the second half, whatever the case is. But the fact that those teams are going forward and winning, and those are two teams that are like playoff contenders, right? And regardless of Kansas City's record right now, they're defending Super Bowl champions, right? And so, or not Super Bowl. They just went to the Super Bowl last year. So, and we beat Philly in a very close game, and those things. I think this thankfulness of this is probably the first time in at least 11 years that we've been on the inside looking out instead of the outside looking in.
Yeah,
and that's something for me. That's really what I kind of like settled on this year. This last week was, man, it's nice to be in the top 3 of the AFC and fighting for a number 1 seed. As opposed to like, okay, well, what needs to go right for us and what needs to go wrong for other people to be able to make the playoffs? And we don't have to worry about that right now. And obviously we have a long, however many games left we have. Math's not my strong suit. David knows this. However many games we have left in the season to be able to get there. But we are on the inside looking out, and the odds of us not making the playoffs are slim. We'd have to lose out, and I don't think that's going to happen. I think we have the team and we have the focus to be able to just at least get to a better seed to make sure that we get and there's a chance we have a deep playoff run, which is like second-year quarterback Bo Nix, third-year head coach. We have a lot going for us in a young team, and when we were talking last year about a rebuild, so it's awesome. It's really nice to know.
Go ahead, Spotty.
Well, one of the things I was going to mention too is I feel week in and week out the competition that the Broncos has played, where a lot of the folks, as soon as we beat them, people were like, well, they only beat up a Texans team with Davis Mills. And all Davis Mills has done since then was he might be 3-0. David, correct me on that one. Davis Mills and the Texans may be 3-0 since the Broncos beat them. The Chiefs just beat the Colts. The Cowboys, who are the number 1 offense, just beat the Cowboys. Or the Eagles. So it's almost like we're being reaffirmed every single week at this point that, that Broncos pulled out a win, against great competition, where the Broncos pulled out a win against a bunch of teams that look like they're going to make the playoffs. I'm sitting here. I mean, the Broncos fans might be cheering for the Houston Texans the rest of the way because they play both the Colts, the Jags. Actually, I think they played the Colts twice.
The Chiefs,
Jags one time, and then they're going to have to play the Chiefs.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and we're talking about that Chiefs game. I want to talk about the something I noticed while watching that Chiefs Colts game. was that, the end of game script was very similar to the Broncos game in that, the Colts had a chance to put the game away at the end by not only stopping the Chiefs offense, but then getting the ball and icing the game away. And that's what the Broncos did. And they were able to execute that in a high leverage situation. And the Chiefs defense the Colts defense got the stop, I believe, at the end of that game when they needed to get the ball back and go score and put the game away. And the Colts offense could absolutely get nothing done. Steve Spagnuolo absolutely cooked the Colts offense in the second half of that game, all game long. And yeah, it was a really reassuring thing to see that the Denver Broncos could play, all three phases with the special teams return, like the returns we got out of Marvin Mims in that game, the defense getting 2 critical stops in the last 4 minutes, and then the offense taking advantage in that final drive to go down and kick the game-winning field goal. It's a battle-tested team at this point. It seems really cliche to say, but it feels like that's where they're at.
Yeah. The only concern I have going forward is, yes, we have, Michael, appreciate you correcting me on this. We have 6 games left. And for some reason, obviously with the bye week, I always think bye weeks are like halfway through. We still have a half season. We're in the second, we're in the fourth quarter at this point. Like we're in the end of our season. And can we not only keep up the momentum, but build momentum going into the playoffs, right? And most of the time you see going into the playoffs is the teams that are finishing stronger that are better in the playoffs. Like, yes, we started strong at 9-2. Can we finish strong and continue going forward? I think that's the case, right? We started 1-3. We're on the 8-game win streak. We're going to drop one. And I know people aren't going to want to hear this. And that, I want to put orange and blue goggles on and say we're not going to. We're going to drop one in the next 6 games. I don't know which one, really, honestly. But we're going to drop 1, maybe 2 in the next 6 games. But we need to build that momentum and build that confidence going into the playoffs because we have all the confidence in the world right now. We saw it in the Kansas City game, right? Kansas City was in a very much, maybe not so much as they were this last week in a must-win scenario, but a divisional game. They were in a must-win situation, and we went out and beat them. Yes, we were at home. Yes, it was a last-minute field goal. We ended up driving down. Bo Nix with a great drive at the end. Shout out to the whole offense on that drive towards the end of the game. But can we keep up this momentum for the end of the season going into the playoffs? That's what I really want to talk about. Part of that is, I think it was mentioned that Sean Payton had talked about trying to re-sign some of these guys in this off time, right? And one of them, obviously, we re-signed Big Nuts Lutz for I think it was 3 years.
Yep.
Yeah, 3-year extension on his deal that I think had 1 year left. So
so we redid the extension on our kicker, so we got a good kicker. And then today we got Wattenberg signed on a 4-year extension, and I think that happened relatively recently. I think David, you shot out to us like an hour ago to let us know this. That's a big piece of the puzzle as well. And then a lot of these things that we need to do going forward to be able to, like, talk about being a rebuild, but also we have a good team. Now, how do we keep pushing it forward and keeping these guys that we have that are playmakers?
Rebuild. I think we might not want. We were talking about tearing the doors down, right? And at this point, a rebuild doesn't really. You're not going to rebuild at this point. And then again, we talk about, the reason that we're able to sign the Wattenbergs, the reasons that we're able to sign Lutz is because we're going to kick a pretty terrible contract off of our books next year. And that cannot be said enough. Like, I know that doesn't affect this Broncos team right now, okay? But what cannot be said enough is that we get rid of Russell Wilson's contract next year. And I think that's the big reason that we're signing a lot of the guys that we're signing, but it's going to free up so much space for us. And then, of course, we're going to then at least have 3 more years on 2 technical years on Bo's contract, but 1 year in the 5th-year option, which I'm pretty sure the Broncos are probably going to pick up his 5th-year option.
Yeah, it's looking that way now. Let's dive a little bit into the Wattenberg contract because I'm not mad about it, but I'm not crazy about it either. Like, he's getting the top. I think he's now 6th in average annual value for centers in the NFL, which is obviously not market setting money, but honestly, I think it's a little bit rich for. He shows to me as an average to slightly below average center on tape. And I get that the free agent market there is just not super great. And now you have continuity on your offensive line locked up for, I think all your players are under contract until the end of next year. on all your starters are. So that's good to have. I feel like the front office has gotten like a lot of home run contracts recently, and this one to me kind of just lands a little bit less enthusiastically.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of pieces of this, right? Like you said, the free agent market isn't great. The draft market isn't great right now for centers. So what are you looking at for the next 3 years? Like, unless somebody pops off the tape and then we end up, where, depending on where we're drafting, with where the team is going right now, we're just imagining we're drafting post 20, right? At least for the next couple of years. So are we going to be able to get this top free agent or this top draft center? Probably not. We can, solidify. And if David, both me and you called our favorite part of the team right now and our biggest offensive MVP being Garrett Bowles. And for me, it was the entire offensive line. I think the entire offensive line is just playing lights out this year. If you go to the Bourbon Broncos No B.S website, Adam had a great article. Asked all of us what our kind of like this in this bye week, asked all of us what our biggest surprise was. Go on and read it. Go on to the Bourbon Broncos No B.S website and check that out, because he wrote a very well-written article about like how that goes. And both of us said the offensive line is just doing an amazing job. And if you can keep them, right? Like, we're not in the rebuild anymore, as Spotty said. We're in a position of like, if we can keep this team for the next 4 years, we would love to keep this team for the next 4 years. So keep the guys that you want to do. Yes, I get maybe a little rich, and obviously money plays a factor in all this. And does that mean we're not going to give as much money to maybe Cooper when he's up for his time?
Didn't Cooper just sign an extension last year?
Signed last year.
Yeah,
he signed.
Perfect.
And this all does line up to me. It continues to say to me that we're not re-signing JFM. Like, we heard they reached out to Malcolm Roach as well. Wattenberg was another name we heard they reached out to about a contract, and then they get it done. So yeah, I think JFM is going to be the odd man out in this group, I think. And you know what? I think I don't know if you guys saw, I think it was the Denver Post. It may have been a different Denver news outlet, but somebody interviewed JFM over the bye week about this specifically. About the Broncos drafting Savion Jones, and about him being in a position where he's in a contract year, and there's not, it doesn't feel like there's a whole lot of reach out from the team. You kind of had to read between the tea leaves on that part. But what JFM was saying was, I will absolutely come and coach a guy to take my job. Like, that's what you do. That's what you do as a young guy in the league. You're out to take somebody's job, and as a veteran, you are trying to get better by that competition. So yeah, you teach a young guy everything you know, and you say, okay, now come beat me with it, was the gist of that conversation. It made me more sad than ever at the prospect of losing JFM, because obviously he's like a really great locker room presence, but I just think he's going to be, he's put too good of tape on display in Denver, and he's going to get signed to a big money deal somewhere else.
Yeah. So two things about, those situations. So just to touch on what David just said, JFM has played well enough that he deserves the type of money that he's going to get next year.
Yeah, for sure.
Absolutely.
The type of money that he gets next year. Currently the Broncos do have a vision, and all of their draft picks. It's hard to point to a spot on the team where you're like, okay, the Broncos definitely need to draft there. They definitely need to draft there. Like, almost at this point, they're drafting for need or for best player available. And this next draft, and I admit, people feel it's a very defensive heavy. It's very defensive heavy. It's not a lot of quarterbacks that anybody's even talking about. And then just to kind of touch back on the Wattenberg contract, name the top 5 centers in the NFL.
I don't know. Is Landon Dickerson
Kelsey retired?
Landon Dickerson is a left tackle for them. Or I'm sorry, he's a right tackle.
Oh, because they just lost Lane Johnson.
Yeah.
You got
exactly. So I'm just saying, the thing about it is, I'm like, the needle's always moving on every position. So we're talking about a rich contract now, which we may be chatting about it next year. Is he going to be making more than what's our guy who just went to Tennessee?
God,
exactly.
That
was another point. But who made a lot of
Cushenberry.
Lloyd Cushenberry made a lot of money. We had nothing to say about him as he left. We're kind of like, sure, Lloyd, good for you, and it almost seems seamless. Like, we really liked Lloyd, right? The metrics said that he wasn't great. But then again,
he's coming in just under Lloyd in terms of average annual value.
So it's one of those things like, you're not going to, not every contract that we're going to sign is going to be a home run. It may just be a nice, easy, comfortable place for Bo to put his hands. And that's why he got.
And Keith, I will say with Lloyd Cushenberry, I think we were all excited when we drafted him. I will be honest. Like I remember, and then I think he had a really rough rookie season.
It was slow. He came along. He was a really good player by the end of his rookie deal here, but yeah, it was a slow start for him for sure.
Yeah, but same thing with JFM, right? Like if you look at the team and you look at where they came along, obviously coaching plays a big aspect in this. And yes, I'm a little bit of a big coaching homer, right? I'm all about the coaching and like how you develop and where you develop. When we're developing these good players who are going other places and doing great things, there's a meaning to that, right? You know that you're going to a team that's going to be able to be coached and be able to work together as a team.
And it's turned into
maybe we play that with JFM, and then I don't think it's going to happen. He's going to get way more money. Like we can't offer him what his market value is going to be. Absolutely,
right.
But there's got to be a level of like, is there a hometown discount? Like I don't know.
Well, and it's turned into such a draft and develop team, accepting key spots. We haven't seen them crack inside linebacker quite yet. So they bring in Dre Greenlaw as the veteran to be the presence there and just kind of coast. But, JFM was a guy who they just brought in via trade. And now that, they've got Savion Jones coming in, hopefully, in theory to replace him, they obviously have a lot of faith in their system. The Paytons do in picking players and saying, this is the plan here. They did it, kind of all along the defensive line with Nick Benito, with Jonathan Cooper, with Jonah Ellis, letting they turn. I think, when we saw them turn things over from the veterans to the young guys after that 70-0 pasting to the Dolphins or 70-20 pasting to the Dolphins, I just feel like I think they kind of turned a corner and said, I think this is who we want to be. This is the team that we want to be. We want to develop guys our way, and we'll get the best results out of them because we're a good coaching staff.
Well, there's something to be said there too, right? Like there's a level of like, I would rather that. And I think for a while there, especially, look at our Super Bowl 50 team, right? We had to pull a bunch of guys in that were at the end of their career, and Peyton Manning being one of them, right? Opposite of who we're going to see this week, Von Miller. I don't know why I always forget his name. Just an amazing defensive end. We had to get him, DeMarcus Ware, right? We had to get him in towards the end of his career, right? All these people that we got towards the end of careers, it'd be really nice to be able to help grow. And that's what you're seeing right now, which I think is nice. It's a nice place to be. It just means that there's going to be a couple of these veterans that are going to get money and go other places. And that's just what happens in the NFL, right?
It's the business,
so,
man.
Yeah.
And I don't know if you guys saw the video of Von Miller, even specifically this particular week. It almost speaks to exactly what you said. So they interviewed Von this week. They asked him if he had even talked to the Denver Broncos about coming back. And he said it himself, right? He's like, I want to be an NFL GM or, coach one day. And then everything that the Broncos told me was all about business. Von Miller wants to be someone who's going to come in. He wants to be the point guard. He wants to play the minutes he wants to play. He wants to go after the quarterback and then be off the field and then have everybody else do the rest of the mop-up kind of work. And the way that the Broncos work with the young guys that he has, he was even saying, he's like, they got guys that come off the bench that are already killers, and they're doing all the extra stuff like special teams, and, they're out there on run defense, all these other things. It's like, I'm not out there to do that. And that's what the way that this team is built. And that's why it didn't come back. That is a very important thing to hear. I know a lot of Broncos fans were talking about Von Miller and him coming back. I think at this point, the next time we see Von Miller is when he signs his one-day contract to retire here.
He said he reached out to the team to ask if he could come back. And that's, you got to love a lifelong Bronco like that. But, I also appreciate him being like, yeah, I get it. They've got all these guys. I'm not at that point in my career anymore. Good self-awareness.
Yeah, and obviously we love Von. He's going to retire Bronco regardless, and seeing him this week is going to be interesting. But we'll get to that in a minute. I think another piece, James brings up a good point. Sort of. We need to get help in the running back room. J.K. Dobbins is on a 1-year, He's on a 1-year contract, right? With the injury this year, halfway through the season, what do we do with J.K. Dobbins? Do we bring him back? Do we try to get more running back help? And when we were talking about, who do we get in the draft? Where's our one spot? That might be, we just picked up RJ Harvey in the second round. Maybe we just let him develop a little bit more, make him a 3-down guy. Let's see how this goes. We only have one real game look to see as a 3-down back. What does it look like for RJ Harvey? And he really wasn't, they were kind of mixing him in and out. And I think they were using that as a development tool. But running back might be one of those spots that we're like, we just don't have the home run hitter that we'd like to have. But, going back to, David, me and you have talked about this for 5, 6, 7 years now at this point. Like, running back isn't one of those. Not every team has the home run hitter running back. I think we can name 3 on the top of our heads. That's like the team revolves around their running back. And even then, we were just talking about it. Indy obviously doing very well with their, Jonathan Taylor having a great year. He gets stopped. What happens? They lose, right? And then you see the Eagles with their running back having Saquon Barkley just doing amazing things. When he gets stopped, what's happening? Like, so there's not a lot of big name running backs that are like home run hitters. We thought we got that guy in J.K. Dobbins. With the injury, I'm really interested to see what the Denver Broncos do with his contract on the 1 year and going forward with the running back room.
I'm annoyed because Damon Pierce had the ability to come to the Broncos and be the thunder to our lightning, and he chose to go to the Kansas City Chiefs. Brother, what are you doing? Like, the Kansas City Chiefs got enough people in front of you. I was excited when I started seeing Damon Pierce's name going over some of the wire information of somebody the Broncos are going to talk to. So again, there's still a chance that Damon Pierce, he's going to get to the practice squad for the Chiefs and rethink.
If they get to the practice squad and the Broncos sign him to their active roster, that's all. That's it. But they'd have to be comfortable signing him directly to the active roster if they really want him at this point.
I just think he would be a good compliment. We're not asking him to take over everything, right? He was a starting NFL back for a couple of years, and he popped a couple of times last year for the Texans. RJ Harvey has the ability and seems really more like the Joker for this team than Evan Ingram actually is. So any time that we can have RJ Harvey on the field is fantastic. But if we have someone who's a little bulky, who can take the hits, and we get in those goal line situations so Peyton doesn't have to call anything silly, that I would appreciate it.
Well, and it's just
who would have been really good for that position? Man, I feel like a guy in Dallas. What's his name? He's a running back in Dallas right now. He's a really, really good running back. He used to be for the Broncos. I feel like he used to play for the Broncos. Was it Javonte?
What are you talking about?
I don't remember. But I will say it is. It's just, the fact of the matter is the Broncos are just kind of missing a guy right now in their running back room. They're missing a body type. Jaleel McLaughlin and RJ Harvey aren't the same body type necessarily, but they do similar things as far as being more speed type backs. Tyler Bidet is the body size who can at least pass protect, but he's not a real threat to run the ball when he's got it or when he's in there. So it's, that's why you're just missing a guy who can run between the tackles and pass protect. And the Broncos had that in J.K. Dobbins, and they don't really have it now. And there's not really a good way to get it is the problem. The trade deadline is passed. There are no free agents unless you want to go sign Zeke Elliott to do it. And I don't. Maybe Latavius Murray. I don't know what he's got left in his legs at this point. So yeah, it would have been nice to have Dameon Pierce come here and, maybe even see some significant playing time, but that's just not the way things worked out. And now if you're the Broncos, you kind of have to go into these last 6 games. And as we, let's transition to Denver Broncos versus Washington Commanders, because we are right here coming into halftime, guys. I don't know if it's going to be as big of a problem necessarily against a Commanders team that has not really proven themselves to be terribly impressive on either side of the ball. But going forward and into your final stretch of games, being able to run is going to be a significant decider of things.
I don't think it's
before we go into this, Jared.
Oh yeah. I guess I'm leading this today, huh? Damn it, Kev, for taking a day off. All right, it's cool. So here we are at halftime. Make sure you guys are liking to follow us, give you a rundown of everything we do, right? So If this is your first time showing up, appreciate you guys. Make sure you hit that like. Sean, this is the first time I've seen you. XVX Sean John over on YouTube. If you're not subscribed to the YouTube, please go over there. Subscribe to YouTube. Watch us over there. Really appreciate you guys. James, Roy, Keith, Michael, everybody joining in today. Really appreciate you guys. So obviously this is our flagship show, Bourbon Broncos No BS. We do this every Tuesday night, regardless during the season. Every Tuesday night here at 7:00 Mountain Time. This is our flagship show. Then we have the pregame podcast and the postgame podcast, both on your favorite podcast listening devices, iTunes, Google Play, whatever you're listening to, Spotify. And then on game days, we do a tailgate talk 1 hour before the game starts. We'll talk about what we're expecting for the game and all those. We also have our giveaway, which is if you can correctly guess during that tailgate talk the score of the game with the Broncos winning, we will give away a jersey. So make sure you guys are joining us there. We are also the original halftime hash, at halftime of every game. We don't like listening to, Tony Romo or whoever it is talk about whatever the other games are. We like talking about Broncos and talking about what we saw for the first half and what we want to see in the second half. And we like talking about it with you guys. We love interacting with everybody to talk about what we saw and what we needed to fix up to be able to finish up the second half of those games. And it's been absolutely fantastic this year, obviously, with us winning. There's been a lot of times at halftime we're like, what are we doing? And at the end of the game, we're like, yeah, let's go. So it's been awesome. And then obviously the post-game podcast. And then Monday night, they do that live, the post-game podcast on YouTube. So make sure you guys are joining it and watching. And again, thank you, everybody. We've been doing this for 10 years, 10-year anniversary here. So we've been doing this because we love it. And we love talking to Broncos country from all around the world. And we really appreciate you guys. And then also make sure that you guys are going on to broncosandbourbon.com over there above David's head to sign up for our right now, everything's free. Eventually, there's going to be a pay. If you sign up now, it'll be free for, I don't know how Kevin's going to do this, but it's going to be free for a while for you guys. So sign up now and get all these articles. Adam is putting out some amazing articles, like I mentioned earlier in the show, talking about like the year in review. And it's absolutely fantastic. If you guys want more Broncos content, that's where you get it. And then also, we are at 9-2. And because this is our 10-year anniversary, we decided at the beginning of the year, the second we hit 10 wins, because we knew it was going to happen, we're giving away 3 Bo Nix jerseys. So Kevin's going to have all the details for that. As soon as we hit that 10 win, tune in on the Tuesday night show. We will be giving away 3 Bo Nix number 10 jerseys to the fans. So please join in and help us celebrate that 10 wins with our 10-year anniversary. Really appreciate you guys. I think I hit everything. And with that being said, let's go ahead and go into this week with the Commanders. Spotty.
Well, I'm glad. I mean, take a breath, bro. You didn't even drink anything.
Yeah, I know, right?
So proud of you, man. Anyways, I think anybody just saw that it looks like the weather's also going to be terrible this week. Not that that's going to really matter. I think it's nice when you get a DC weather. The Broncos are the kind of team to be ready for that, considering what the season looks like for us at all times. I wish there was a lot to say right off the bat about this matchup, besides the fact that, of course, as most of you guys already know, Jaden Daniels isn't going to be playing in that game. He's in his window to start practicing, and it would be an absolute stupid idea for them to put Jaden Daniels in against this particular team.
Yes,
we're swarming the quarterback so much, and you have a franchise quarterback like Jaden Daniels. They would really screw him up, RG3, if they decide.
Yeah, no, and there's no reason, right? You're right. Are they already? Are they 3-8? Is that? Yeah, I think they had the same bye week as us. So yeah, there's just no reason to rush Jaden Daniels back. I know he's a player. He wants to play. If he's healthy, he should play. But bringing him back this week against this Broncos defense, when you've got really no shot to save your season anyway, I don't see that being a coaching decision that the Commanders make this week.
3-8.
Yeah, it doesn't make any sense. But here's the big question on our side is Pat Surtain, right, coming back from his injury. We don't know where he's going to be. Alex Singleton, I think he's on the track to be able to play back and come back and play after his surgery. So we also have some injuries on the defensive side that we would also like to come back. Now, I'm not worried if Pastor Tan does come back. I feel like the Denver Broncos and the front office have done their research and they know what the risk would be, and we would be able to I don't know if we need him based on what we saw against Kansas City. I don't think we need him, right? If you're talking some of the top wide receiver rooms, Kansas City has some speedy receivers, and we got to handle them, right? A couple pass interference calls, but we handled them pretty well. And I know I don't want to throw shade at it. I saw a video of Riley Moss, and it was with Chris Harris. And anyways, we'll talk about that a little bit later. But I think we could take care of the Commanders this week. I'm not super worried about the Commanders, and maybe it's just because we're 9-2, and that's like a weird position to be in. But they have a solid defense. So can the offense step up and do what they need to do?
Do they have a solid anything? I don't think that you can say they have a solid defense.
I mean, on paper, the names.
Yeah, but that's the thing. They have one of the oldest defenses in the NFL, and I think they had to switch. Like, Dan, head coach, wasn't the play caller. Dan Quinn was not the play caller to start the season, and then he took over defensive play calling duties at a certain point, which tells you, of course, they're not satisfied with the way their defense is playing. So, yeah, they do have some big names on that defense, Von Miller being one of them, but it's not a defense that is like Marshawn Lattimore, I know, was their big trade acquisition last year and did not turn out.
He's on IR.
Yeah, exactly. And he wasn't playing well before he went on IR. So, yeah, it's been a little bit of a journey for that Commanders defense, and I don't think it feels to me like the matchup just favors Denver across the board here.
I'm trying to look. I'm looking at the stats for their defense on total yards. They're the 31st ranked defense.
Yeah. It's a team you're going to feel good about trying to move the ball on if you're the Broncos. It's just now a question of how do you look coming out of your bye? Right? How prepared are you?
Yeah.
How do you come out looking rusty? Sean Payton gave the team the bye week off. Does that give them the rest that they need? I think it's a pretty smart move to do that this late in the season when guys are so banged up, when every team in the NFL is so banged up. Just giving your guys that mental rest to be away from football just for a few days at this time of the season, I think is a really good idea. But how does that play out on the field? Do they come back to practice looking rusty and then go out and turn in a stinker against the Commanders? We just have to see now.
Yeah, obviously I'm a big fan of the coaching style and the coaching world when we talk about football. I talked about it against the Kansas City Chiefs. I think that was a coaching game, right? Like I think the winner of that game had the better coaching, and Kansas City coming off their bye week and how their record against in the bye, and when on paper both teams look very favorable, it comes down to coaching and how you're going to play the game. And obviously we ended up coming away with wins. Another time is, again, Kansas City coming off their bye, us coming off the bye. How are we going to come out? Are we going to come out slow? Are we going to come out staggered? Are we going to come out like we just had 2 weeks off? Or are we going to come out swinging and be able to show that we are still like the Denver Broncos that everybody is expecting to make a deep playoff run? I don't know. It's weird because, again, this year being the first year that we're in this position where we're, after our bye week being like, hey, we're favored pretty heavily going into this game. Can we be able to finish this out? I do think this comes down on the coaching staff, 100%.
I think this is the perfect kind of game to knock off the rust and knock off the talks, right? Maybe this is the game to get your flow and rhythm. We talked about it. There's 6 games that are left towards the season, okay? The Commies, the Raiders, I can't help it. The Commanders, the Raiders, Green Bay, Jacksonville, Chiefs, Chargers, in order. And I'm just telling you, we have 2 games right now to get the flow on offense. If the Denver Broncos can take these next 2 weeks away, so against the Commanders and against the Raiders, I think that the Broncos may be I think the numbers for us to be favored for the Super Bowl are going to go up. I think the only thing that everybody says about us is the but, right? Oh my gosh, Broncos are good, but they can't get the rhythm or anything like that. if we can show like last year how good we can be after the bye, and we look like any semblance of the Denver Broncos offense after the bye last week, this is that game to get that started. This is where you start revving the engine.
Yeah, I was trying to think about this. Like, how many games this year did we feel like we put together a full 4 quarters? Cowboys,
Bengals.
Threw a pick in the first quarter, and it felt like it was going to be a slow game.
Drive.
And then maybe against the Chiefs too.
He was playing well on that first drive. He was doing pretty well, and then he tried to get fancy, threw that interception. But I feel like as it's together, all 4 quarters, I could think the Chiefs. Maybe if you could say the Chiefs. I do feel like we were slow in parts, but I think that was just football and their defense kind of stepping up. But
yeah, and so it's just, to me, you don't have to, like we talked about it before the Chiefs game, right, guys? You don't have to get an all-star performance out of Bo Nix to end the season. You have to get the guy who played against the Chiefs. If you get the guy if you get that same quarterback, you are in every single one of these games down the stretch. You have a really good chance to win them all, even though you probably won't. If Bo Nix plays to that level, you're going to be in all of those games.
Yeah. I mean, honestly, this is one of those teams that, like, we know that we rely on our defense. Like, there's no question about it. We rely on the defense. And yes, Bo Nix is the poster child for the Broncos because we got him as a rookie. He's our, career quarterback. He's our franchise guy. But our defense is what's going to do it. And if we can get our defense fully healthy, which we've talked about, if we can get our defense fully healthy, I don't see a team beating that defense. And all Bo Nix has to do is go down and score a couple drives.
Right.
And we know the best part about him, and we talked about this, for the past 10 years that we've been doing Forwards Weekly, we've been talking about we need a guy who can finish the game. We need a guy who can go down there and finish the game if it's in a close game, because that's what the NFL is. All these games are going to be very rarely that you get like these blowouts. In with decent teams. So you have to have a guy that's going to be able to finish. And we have that guy in Bo Nix. So it's kind of nice.
Yeah.
I think this is the game, though, David. I know you said that we don't need to see an all-star Bo, but I think this is absolutely one of those games where we're going to have a little extra pep in our step because I think Bo has the ability to tear this team up. Someone like Tua has shown us over the last couple of weeks that the Commanders are – they're going to give up the big play. And I would love for this to be the game that Bo gets his deep ball back. Because
my gosh,
ball back to this point, that's probably the only beef. That's really the only real thing. Like, yes, he makes some, questionable choices at times, but he just hasn't really hit on his deep ball at all. And if this is the game that he gets to touch, then let's go for it. Now, if the weather's bad, of course, then that's not really an option. But of course, our offense, the way it is currently with the screens and the out passes and the run game, it favors a terrible weather game.
What are we talking about for terrible weather? Are we looking at like rain?
I'm looking it up right now. Keep going.
Yeah, so because that's another piece. It's like if it's just like cold, then I think we can deal with it. If it's like rainy, unfortunately, we're gonna have to deal.
It's going to be light rain and 45 degrees, and 34 is the low. So, it depends on what you mean by light rain. That could mean anything. The temperature's not going to be like freezing, and it doesn't look like the wind is going to be crazy. Honestly, it looks like it's going to be worse weather in Denver on Sunday. It's going to be pretty cold and maybe snowy here. So, not great weather, but it doesn't sound like it's going to be a downpour of any kind.
Yeah, but also like wet and 45 is a completely different level of like cold. Like wet and 45 is a whole nother level when the ball hits your hands, and especially the velocity that ball's coming out, and when you get hit, like that's a whole different level of. So we need to establish a run game, and that's going to be a fact. We need to establish a run game. Who is it going to be? We don't know. We saw Jaleel McLaughlin end up with a lot more touches and a lot more like. I don't know how to not good yards, but like meaningful yards when he got the ball versus, RJ Harvey. Now, RJ Harvey, we know, is kind of like a receiving back right now in the current offense that we have. But we need to establish a run game in this game, I think.
Yeah, and it's just going to come down to manufacturing that, I think, a little bit. Are you going to see Bo Nix try and make a little bit more happen with his legs because he knows the run game needs a little bit of extra support that way? They've got options there. It's just going to be interesting to see how they try to cover that up. Do they try even going to screen passes more and things like that? We've seen them do that in the past. We'll have to see how it works.
I will say, everyone's going to give obviously Sean Payton a lot of crap. The screen passes, and it's funny, you can go off on a tangent on this if you want, but
here we go.
Screen passes is the thing. But another piece is like we saw for the first time a design quarterback run went nowhere, right? It didn't work out very well, and everyone was giving Sean Payton a bunch of crap for trying to design a quarterback run with Bo Nix. It was an awful, it just wasn't executed well, right? And so
he tripped. It was the turf monster got him.
Yeah, but yes, you want to try to, establish that and kind of manufacture those types of plays with Bo Nix's legs. But when it doesn't work out, it doesn't work out. And you're kind of now you're behind the time and you have to kind of go back to what you know.
Yeah.
Body, what you got to say about that?
I'm just saying, ask the Lord a little harder because it's just not going to happen.
Marvin Mims is back, you guys. Marvin Mims is back. We could do great things.
The issue with the screenplay has been the fact that the blocking has been terrible. It's not the play itself, okay? We do not have the personnel, or at least Adam Troutman, which, remember a couple years ago we were super stoked about him? He does not block well on any of these plays. And I think it was Jake Plummer. Again, it was Jake Plummer who pointed this out, okay? And we brought in little Jordan Humphrey, and we brought in old man Mercedes Lewis, to help out with the blocking, and it still hasn't helped out, okay? I even feel like Mercedes has played 5 snaps a game, maybe, over the last couple of weeks, and I'm not even sure if little Jordan even played against Kansas City.
A couple of times.
Yeah.
Maybe they needed the bye week to meld into it. Maybe we see better blocking, but Troy Franklin is horrible at blocking, and I love me some Pat Bryant, but he's definitely the one who's been called for a couple of hold plays on the outside. So I'm just pointing out the fact that yes, the screenplay could absolutely work. We just do not have the personnel to make it work well.
We did not see a lot of screenplays against the Chiefs.
No, we did not. And they were able to hit other things. They were able to hit other concepts. They hit on enough downfield plays that it was, and boy, you know what? I want to give Bo Nix a special shout out here because, and maybe this is just me, but I've heard praise from Broncos actual tape watchers who I trust, and I hear their analysis that Bo Nix is actually really good at the line of scrimmage, diagnosing defenses pre-snap. And I think we saw that in action against the Chiefs, just in specifically the way that they were able to protect themselves against Steve Spagnuolo blitzes, especially as the game went on. It felt like they consistently had those blitzes blocked up really well. You saw that clip of Adam Prentice destroying a blitzing defensive back on that pass from Bo Nix down the sideline to Troy Franklin that was his most beautiful ball of the year. And I feel like Bo has been really, really good at making those adjustments at the line, and it's not showing up as well in the film because sometimes the throw doesn't end up where you want it to be, but it's an unseen part of his game that he's doing well at.
Or the ball's dropped.
Right, yeah, that too. But it's just going to be, now can he continue to marry what he's seeing at the line of scrimmage with what his feet are doing on passing plays? Because if he can, we're going to beat the Commanders and we're going to beat a bunch of other teams on the way to the end of the schedule.
Yeah, and this is the part of having a second-year quarterback too. It's learning, and if he's got the intelligence, then all you got to do is the footwork. That's teachable. If you don't have the intelligence, it's hard.
I'm glad you brought up the second-year quarterback thing because after this bye week and just kind of watching some YouTube videos and kind of listening to some of the pundits about Bo Nix, I feel like the way that they talk about him is that he's the guy who's on a second-year contract. They talk about Bo Nix the same way they talk about Trevor Lawrence, right? And these people are not the same. These are not, I don't care how many years in college football that Bo played, like that does not really change the speed and the action in an actual NFL game. Okay. And so the way that everybody's talking, like, no, the Broncos have a bum as a quarterback. The Broncos have this and that. And they're ignoring the stats that they're seeing. Like, I get it. Like, we may take those stats and say, oh my gosh, he's the second coming of Elway or whatever. Like, we're Broncos fans. We have to say that. We have to be ready to have a quarterback. I mean, we haven't gone through as many as the Browns have, but damn it, we've gone through a pretty good amount of quarterbacks over the last 10 years. So I almost want some of us, and myself included, to maybe even take a step back again. Like, these things that we're seeing from Bo, which we're still winning the game, the things that we're seeing from Bo that we may not like or disagree with, he's still learning the game. I mean, I watched another clip today of how long the calls are for Sean Payton, and he's someone who's memorized that and knows when to then read the defense, know when to audible to the kill, and then go from there. And the fact that I can listen to that same play call just on the screen, and I could pause and listen all I want, and I still couldn't freaking tell you what he said during the whole entire sentence. Like, you got to give Bo a lot of credit for the work that he's done.
And we all said it, guys. We all said it before the start of the season. The progression is not going to be just a straight line up. Good for Drake May. You know what? Good for Drake May, because his progression really has been kind of a straight line up this season. Doesn't matter. You know, we'll see him in the playoffs. We'll see in the playoffs. But from the opponents that he has played, his tape this year he's gotten better every week, and he has improved markedly on last season without really kind of any big back steps. And that's great for him, but that's just not the way that young quarterbacks typically develop in the NFL. Look at the Sam Darnolds and the Baker Mayfields and all of these guys who are now succeeding after just being completely written off in their second year, third year, fourth year, as not only starters, but even viable quarterbacks in the league altogether. And you've got you've got a guy going 9-2 into his second year with a veteran coaching staff. And, we still got a lot to learn, but we're talking, just to your point, Spotty, we're trying to talk about him like he's a second contract quarterback and he's a second year quarterback. And we need to just keep remembering that development is not linear for most players in the NFL. And we've got a really good support system behind this young quarterback. Let it just keep going.
Before you say something, Jared, I just want to make one last comment, just because you almost touched on it too. If there are Broncos fans who are a little upset with what they're seeing from Bo, I challenge you to go watch the Minnesota Vikings and see what they've got from J.J. McCarthy. Granted, I know that he missed his first year, but the way that Bo played with the weapons he had versus the way that J.J. McCarthy's playing with the weapons that he has are miles apart.
Yeah.
Okay, and that was someone who was drafted before Bo. Okay.
Yeah. Well, and I was going to say actually the same thing is on the other end of it. If you look at the teams that are successful right now, if you look at all the teams that are successful outside of Jaden Daniels with the injury, Drake May, Bo Nix, and then J.J. McCarthy, obviously, and Caleb Williams. That's the third one to get. Caleb Williams. All teams that are doing very well in playoff bound. Second-year quarterbacks versus all these veterans. You look at the Trevor Lawrences. You look at over in I was about to say San Diego, the Chargers, right? You look at these other quarterbacks that are these like supposed to be these like second coming of the next guy. I mean, even look at Josh Allen is doing great. Like, I mean, you look at these teams that are not doing well with superstar quarterbacks. About Patrick Mahomes not doing very well this year. And then you have these second-year guys that are I really truly believe the future of the NFL are these three players, and possibly four with Jaden. If we can get Jaden Daniels healthy, I think those four quarterbacks are the future of the NFL. You have to let them develop. You have to give them time.
Josh Daniels was also not good his first 2 years. He picked it up in his third year.
True.
Yeah, that's true too. And yeah, we've got a quarterback with all kinds of traits. We've got to see what he can do. We've got to give him the time, the runway. It's be excited, guys, because man, we're talking about this team like this, and we're talking about all of these flaws, and we're still sitting here at 9-2. Like, we're still sitting here in a position to dictate our own destiny / win the number 1 seed in the AFC going into the final 6 games of the season. So yeah, it's such a cool time to be a Broncos fan.
Yeah. So I want to bring it back. I know we only have about 5 minutes left of the show, but I want to bring it back because there's been a lot of conversation about it with Marvin Mims. So we talked about Marvin Mims being back, and I think we kind of mentioned Marvin Mims being back in the screen game. But what do we think about Marvin Mims coming back in the run game, right? We haven't used him on a lot of jet sweeps recently. He's obviously a lightning in a bottle on kick return, punt return. I think he's been the difference maker when in our return game on special teams. Legitimately, I think he's gotten us some of the greatest field position we could have asked for, and it's been a big difference maker in a lot of our games. Do we see him? Is there a chance that we see him coming in not just in a running back formation? I think let me find the James mentioned putting Mims in to run some. I don't think we put him in as running back, but I think we use him as a sweep, right? But again, using him as a screen, like where can we put Mims to be a playmaker? Get the ball in a playmaker's hand and make him miss, make a defender miss.
Yeah, it's a question of when do you deploy him in these scenarios, right? Because it feels like you've gotten, with his injury and that kind of thing, you've maybe had a little bit of a natural advantage of, well, we don't put that on film. We don't put these concepts on film until later in the year when we really want to use them in high leverage moments. And so now it becomes a question of how much do you need to use that in the run game to spark life into your running game versus how much can you sprinkle it in when you really need a little bit of something extra and you want to put the ball in the hands of your electric playmaker in a key moment.
I don't know. I have no idea anymore. We've talked over the last 3 years since we drafted Marvin Mims. I mean, back to even when we were having Legwold, we asked him 2 years in a row about what the Broncos were doing with Marvin. And it seems at times that we're given exactly what we're asked for. You get an incredible, you draft the guy with the 2nd round pick to get him the ball because of how electric he is. You then in turn see it on kickoff returns, punt returns. Then it's like, I understand he's been hurt, part of this season, but it hasn't been involved already at all. So why would he change now to put Marvin back there? Like, I understand that we don't have JK anymore, but I feel like we would have already seen some of these plays from Marvin unless he was like, you know what, let me bring this out of my bag after the bye week. I think if anything, it was going to be something that he was saved for against the Chiefs. So quite honestly, I just don't know anymore. I feel that the action that we normally want to see for Marvin, we're trying to get the ball into Troy Franklin's hands more. And that's why Marvin has been a little bit more of an afterthought. Unfortunately, Troy has not done everything that he can with that ball in his hands for the last couple of weeks, but we do know he has the capability. So I wouldn't hold my breath on seeing Marvin with the ball more, especially if we're trying to save him a little more for those punt return, kick returns.
And Jared, let me intercede before we go into final thoughts because I want to make a Troy Franklin point. And guys, I know the Troy Franklin consistency isn't quite where you want it to be from him as a guy who has shown the upside that he has shown. But I will say this about that. It's so obvious that Bo Nix just trusts Troy Franklin. And that's a big reason why you see him going to Troy Franklin in these situations. It's why you saw him go to him on that key play and the field goal drive against the Chiefs. In that, Troy Franklin got behind the defense. Bo Nix saw it and put the ball up there, and they made the connection that time. And it turned into a game-winning drive for the Denver Broncos. So all of that is to say, even though Troy Franklin has not been, a superstar or even what you would consider as a really steady, reliable number 2 wide receiver on the team this year, he has grown from last year, and Bo Nix trusts him. You're gonna continue to see the ball go to him more.
Yeah. Before we go into final shot thoughts, I'm just gonna mention the same thing. Like Troy Franklin, Bo Nix drafting the same year, coming out, together from Oregon. The connection's gonna eventually be there. Yes, we are impatient to see that connection come in, and I'm with you. And going to Spotty's point, why have we not seen more of the deep ball to Marvin Mims? Because that's why we drafted him in the first place, is to see the deep ball. And we have not seen very many deep ball shots from Bo Nix to Marvin Mims. It's always Troy Franklin or sometimes it's Courtland Sutton. And now I will say, Bo Nix very clearly trusts the veteran in Courtland Sutton on a lot of these key plays, right? The third and longs, he's going to Courtland Sutton, and sometimes defenses call it out, but for the most part, he trusts Courtland Sutton to make the catch, which is great because we know he's our number one. But yeah, the deep balls, he's definitely trusting Troy Franklin. Why are we not looking a little bit more to Marvin Mims? I'm not sure, but you're right. I think a lot to your point, David, is the trust and the history that they have coming from Oregon together. And I think that's a big part of it. All right, so before we were getting ready to wrap up the show, guys, thank you guys all for joining us. Appreciate the comments. We've gotten to a few of them. Sorry we haven't gotten to all of you guys, but we gotten a few of your comments. Really appreciate it. We're coming up against Commanders this week, and it's going to be a great game. Make sure you guys go and download or follow the Bourbon Broncos No BS or Orange Weekly podcast, where we both, David, Spotty, and I will be talking about the pregame podcast. And we'll go very in-depth, line by line, for offense and defense and coaching styles and all the other things to give you a heads up on what we're expecting for this game and give you guys our pregame prediction as well. With that being said, let's go around the horn and talk about our final thoughts. Who wants to start? Give you guys a choice.
I'll go for it.
All right. David, you got it.
Okay. All right. Final thoughts. We heard Sean Payton talked to the media yesterday, and they had 2 points of emphasis that they wanted to really harp on coming out of the bye week, he said, and it was penalties and it was the turnover differential, which, obviously it's obvious to hear the coach come out and say those things, given what we as fans have experienced with this team over the course of the season. But it is nice that they are at least able to self-scout in that arena and say, yeah, we want to solve these things, even though, your ability to actually coach these things out of your team, especially your turnover differential, is somewhat limited. But they are at least focusing on these things. They are able to self-scout, and it shows me that this team does have what I would call a championship mentality, a mentality of, like, we're not going to rest on the laurels of being 9-2. We are coming out of our bye week with these serious things that we need to work on. Whether or not they can work on them successfully is probably going to be the difference between whether they can be a championship team this season ultimately. But at the very least, you see their ability to self-scout and to identify the problems with the team and to say, well, all right, we've gotten this far, but we're not going to get where we want to go unless we fix all of these problems, even if they seem relatively small.
I agree. Spotty, what you got?
So after the bye week, we are in the last third of the regular season. This is that point now where it's not just about talk. It's no longer about conjecture. The Broncos have the ability to be a playoff team or a champion. That all starts over these next 6 weeks. And I'm really looking forward to seeing that, to not have to complain, to not have to pull out the abacus, to not have to talk about what if the Broncos do this or what if they do that. Honestly, if the Broncos continue to play the way that they have played, it's no longer about ifs and buts. It's all about what will happen and what will come to fruition. It's really nice to know that we have the ability to control every bit of our destiny by winning out. What's a home game in Denver sound like to you guys? And after listening to how loud the fans were against the Chiefs, I don't think there's any team who wants to play the Denver Broncos at home for every single one of those games, especially in the cold. So I think this bye week came at the right time for us. We're going to get a lot of key people back, and as long as that we continue to be healthy, we will be a threat no matter who we're playing. Bring on Buffalo, bring on Kansas City. I'm really looking forward to it. So it does start with game 1, so you can't just skip through those 6 games. So I hope the flow for this team starts with the Commanders, and then we carry from there.
Yeah, I mean, I want to press on that, Spotty. I think that's a huge point. Like, we have a lot of football left to play, and I think that it's really important to see where we're coming out of this bye, and then that's a big part. But I do want to say, in the theme of Thanksgiving, first of all, happy Thanksgiving, everybody. As we won't see you guys again till Sunday, an hour before game day, or if you listen to the podcast, we'll probably record around that time. I'm thankful for the Broncos just as a whole. I'm thankful for what we've gone through and what we've been through to where we are now. I'm thankful for the record that we put up. I'm thankful for the team that we have, and the fact that we can battle through games to win the close ones means that we're a fighting team. And it's in a situation where there's a lot of teams right now that are fighting for the position and fighting for the right to say these things. And we're there. And to the point, like, the players all the time talk about how awesome it is to play in Denver and how awesome it is to be in that Denver atmosphere. Let's fight for that home field advantage. We win the AFC West. Let's get that home field advantage so we can use that going forward. And I think that's a huge part. And a lot of that comes down to Broncos Country, and then just the excitement and the passion that Broncos Country has for this team is unmatched. And it depends on where you come from and where you're looking at, but it's unmatched on the excitement for this team. And I love it. I'm super thankful for it. I'm super thankful for Broncos Country. So, yeah. All right. Any last words, guys? All right. With that being said, thank you all for joining us. Really appreciate you guys being here. Make sure you guys are hitting the subscribe button, going on to the website and signing up for our website, and then downloading the podcast. But without further ado, thank you so much. Happy Thanksgiving, everybody. And as always, we end it with a very strong
Go
Broncos.
Broncos.
Do what I like, yeah, I do what I like, yeah, I do what I like. Sip and go, sip is right.